Hi, welcome to this episode of The Daily. My name is Brendan Malone. Well, last weekend I watched a really awesome documentary. It's on Netflix. I'm not sure if you can get it on DVD anywhere, but it's definitely on Netflix. It's called Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Running Down a Dream. Running Down a Dream is the title of one of their famous songs. And it was just an awesome documentary. It's 3 hours and 58 minutes long. So it's 4 hours long. I watched it over several nights. And man, it was just so enjoyable because I think Tom Petty is one of the most underrated musicians, musical talents, songwriters of our era. He really is. And when he passes on, that will be a tragic loss. It will be a hugely tragic loss. I don't think people really understand just how important Tom Petty has been, just how prolific he's been, or just how much of a talented songwriter. As the documentary rightly points out, a lot of people have called him a poet because that's what he really is. In many ways, I think Tom Petty is kind of like the Johnny Cash of my era. So Johnny Cash was the Johnny Cash of my dad's era, and for me, Tom Petty is the Johnny Cash of my era. And in fact, interestingly, the two of them did some album work together. And it was quite a successful collaboration. But they have a lot of similarities. Really dysfunctional relationship with their fathers, really close to their mothers. They were both self-taught men who come from sort of that rural American or working class American background, and they just write about life and life's experiences, and they speak honestly, and they're almost like these journeyman characters who engage with they're like the sort of the wandering bard in a lot of ways. They're not interested in the hype. They're not interested in the bubblegum pop crap mentality that sort of persists in a lot of modern pop music. We listen to and we get pumped out to us a lot of paint by numbers junk. And it's touted as music today. But these guys were completely different. For them, they were really committed to a genuine artistic endeavour, and it really does show in Tom Petty's body of work, which has spanned several decades now. And as I said, I really encourage you, if you haven't seen this documentary, it is well worth the watch. Not just if you're a musician, and not just if you're a fan of Tom Petty. There's some really important stuff. It's a very well-made documentary that unpacks sort of a history of music in this one man's life, and all the people responsible for shaping that, and all the different ways it changed. I mean, a lot of people have forgotten. I was young and really started listening to the radio a lot as Tom Petty had started to form, or had formed, the Travelling Wilburys, and you had guys like Roy Orbison and Bob Dylan regularly playing with this guy. And there's the documentary that really unpacks that mutual respect that they had for each other. And these great artists, like I said, like Johnny Cash and Bob Dylan and Roy Orbison, they absolutely adored and loved the work of Tom Petty because they recognised in him this greatness, this musical greatness. It's a real stark reminder too, this documentary, I think, about what it is that makes an artist good and great and what it is to produce art. And so much of it is about authenticity and honesty. There's a particular scene towards the end of the documentary where he was invited into the studio to go and record an album with a friend of his, a musician friend. He was invited to be part of it, to do a duo with him, a duet. And this song had been written by someone else, and this guy hadn't recorded music in years, and so he was coming back to it a bit later in life. And Tom Petty, they've got the actual video footage of him in the studio, and he's looking at this song, and he says, "This is rubbish. Who wrote this?" Because it's just these bubblegum rhyming lyrics that don't mean anything substantial. And he got really angry with the record producer who was there, and he says, "This is far beneath my friend here. He's not going to be recording this. This is rubbish. I'm not going to be part of this. And you shouldn't force this crap on him either, because basically it shows you don't understand or respect his talent or who he really is as a musician." And it's a really interesting exchange, and a really interesting point in the documentary, which just highlights that integrity that he had and the commitment to actually being an artist and to telling the truth. Like I said, it's a really worthwhile documentary, and I guarantee you that you could put people. This is the sign of a good musical artist, I think, is you can put people from different generations in a room together, and they could tell you a Tom Petty song. Even if they didn't realise it was Tom Petty at first, they would actually know of his music, despite the fact that they're from different generations, and they'd be very familiar with his music. That, to me, is a real powerful sign of a musician who has a great artistic integrity, because that longevity doesn't happen unless you are able to communicate and you have a certain artistic ability to actually play your instrument and to write those songs well. They just don't sell, they don't stick around in people's minds unless there is something meaningful there. It doesn't hang around that long. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow on The Daily.